is your favorite thing about being a senator?
I like talking about what the role of government should be, how big government should be, or how small government should be, whether a government should obey rules. So like when you go to school, there are rules on when you can leave the class, when you're allowed to go to the office, when you're allowed to go to recess. Government's the same thing. We have rules, and we're supposed to obey rules, but sometimes we don't all agree on exactly what the rules mean, so we have a debate or an argument over what the rules are. And these are called constitutional debates, and those are one of the reasons why I got involved.
How often are you in Washington, D.C.?
I go to Washington almost every week. I usually leave on Monday and come back on Friday.
What is your favorite hobby?
I like to swim, I like to ride my bike, and I like to play golf.
Me too. What do you like to do with your children?
Well, I have one son who is on the golf team I like to play golf with. My other son is a soccer player. Sometimes we'll kick the soccer ball around. And sometimes we go to the beach. About once a year we go down to the beach in Florida. We like doing that.
How much do you still practice biology?
Yeah. The rules of the Senate say that I can no longer do it for a living, so I can't have my own office and do it like a doctor's office. But what I do is I do it for charity. About 4 or 5 times a year I do surgery on people who don't have health insurance. So some of that I do in this area, some of it I've done in Lexington, in Paducah, and Corbin. So in different hospitals around the state, I've done some surgery for, mostly cataract surgery for people who don't have insurance.
What's your favorite meal?
Meal?
Yeah.
Favorite thing to eat?
Yeah.
I think lasagna.
Lasagna's good. What's your favorite sport?
Favorite sport? When I was a kid, it was baseball. And I still play a little bit of baseball. There's a Republicans versus the Democrats game in Washington, and it's done for the Boys and Girls Club in Washington. And so we play every year, but we won't tell anybody. We're not very good. The Democrats beat us 27-0 last year, so we're still kind of unhappy about that.
Which do you like better, Kentucky or Washington, D.C., and why?
I like being at home more in Bowling Green and being in Kentucky, but I feel like there's a job I have to do in Washington as well. But it's nice that I'm able to come home almost every week, and so I am able to spend time with my family and spend time with people, friends and people who I know here in town.
Okay, do you like television interviews?
If they're nice to me, and so far you've been nice to me. As long as you're nice to me, we'll get along. But a lot of the interviews I do, I can't see the person I'm interviewing. So the interviews that I'm doing this morning, I'll just look into a camera, and it's harder to do that because you can't read the person and tell kind of from the person's facial expressions what the questions are going to be like. And if they're hostile or they're mean, if you can't see them, it's even harder. But most of them are fairly fair.
Okay, I think one of your favorite Kentuckians has a clay in their name. What do you admire most about Cassius Marcellus Clay?
Well, Cassius Marcellus Clay was a cousin to the more famous Clay, Henry Clay, who's probably the most famous Kentuckian, who was a senator for 40 years in Washington. But Cassius Marcellus Clay was an abolitionist, and that means he wanted to abolish slavery. And this was a time in our country when we did something very wrong. We said that certain people could own other people. And some people just accepted it and went on and on for nearly 100 years, the first 100 years of our history. But he was brave and noble and stood up and said it was wrong.
Did you and your wife decide after one days yesterday if you're going to run for president?
We're still working on that. We haven't figured that out yet. But it is a big job to do it, to run for president. It would take traveling around the country. It would mean I'd be home less time and get to see my kids less time. And the people in the media, they get meaner and meaner when you run for president because they pick you apart and say, your clothes don't look good, your hair looks bad, you need a haircut. You know, you get all that kind of grief from the media if you run for president. So it's a big job, and we haven't decided yet.
What percent do you think you're gonna run?
Which one?
What percent do you think that you're gonna run?
What is the chance that I would run? It's probably 50-50. We are thinking about it and sort of, looking at what it would take to run. It's a big job. But we probably won't make our decision for about a year.
That's it. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Good job.
For everything.
Could we get a